Donk is one of the best pro players, but he's also one of the highest rated players on Faceit, where he plays on EU servers, which also makes him one of the best puggers in the world. For those of you that aren't familiar, Faceit level 10 starts at 2001 elo. Donk is 4,400 elo, which doesn't just put him in an exclusive percentile in Faceit, that means he's ranked 3rd on the server, and this server is host to over 2.2 million players and is considered the most competitive region in the world. Not to mention, he's finished 1st on the ladder 2 seasons in a row. He's extremely proficient in every mechanic in Counter-Strike, but most notably, peeking. Donk does very specific things when he does peek, and this enables him to destroy even some of the best CS players. Before I break down all these details and show you how to peek like Donk, we need to talk about today's sponsor.
SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a fully automated CS2 trading site. SkinsMonkey provides an instant way to get new skins. Along with that, they have a 24/7 live chat support, so if you run into any problems, they'll be right there to help you. If you're interested in finding a specific skin, you can use their search tool. Better yet, if you're not sure what skin you're looking for, you can use their filter tool to find exactly what you're looking for. If you use my promo code RIDEORDIE, you can earn up to $5 for free. Trade up $100 to make the most of it. Now, if you don't want to trade your skins but you'd rather buy, SkinsMonkey is now offering a 30% deposit bonus. And if you use my promo code RIDEORDIE, you'll receive an additional 5%. Remember, use code RIDEORDIE to get up to $5 for free and claim your 35% deposit bonus. Thank you, SkinsMonkey, for sponsoring this video.
Compared to most players, Donk wide swings a lot, but he only does it when he knows he can. So when should you wide swing, and how could wide swinging be beneficial? Well, first, you should only wide swing an angle when you're almost certain you'll be peeking into one enemy. Wide swinging where there can be multiple players holding for your peek will result in either you getting killed instantly, or best case scenario, you're getting one and then immediately traded. But the reason why wide swinging can be so strong is because your player model becomes much harder to track and kill. And with a little practice, you can start incorporating the Donk slide into your gameplay, which will make your peeks even deadlier. I know what some of you may be thinking, what the hell is the Donk slide? The Donk slide is something people started to notice Donk doing a lot in CS2. What he'll do is wide swing an angle, which he does quite often, and instead of simply tapping his counter strafe key and then shooting like the rest of us, he instead holds his counter strafe key and his crouch key at the same time, which moves him in the opposite direction while he begins shooting. The end product looks something like this. This looks counterintuitive to almost all of the well-known fundamentals CS players abide by, most notably don't move and shoot, but you can't argue with the results. A lot of players have been starting to abuse this mechanic, and I think it's important for you to try and see if it seems like something you can implement in your game. But before you start donk sliding in your matches, I think it's important to note a few things. First, if you feel uncomfortable with counter strafing, then I recommend you hold off on learning this until you feel more comfortable with your movement. Second, understanding recoil patterns will greatly influence your success rate with this kind of peek. And third, donk sliding really works well in isolated 1v1 scenarios. Just like wide swinging, which is essentially what you're doing, the donk slide is never a good idea to do if you're going to move out into several crosshairs at once. So try and master the skill of knowing when you should and shouldn't wide swing. Timing is something a lot of players refer to in Counter-Strike, which basically means being in the right place at the right time, or in this example, knowing when to peek at the right time. A lot of players can find timings or become victims of a timing, which most players mistakenly attribute to luck. Of course, there are going to be situations where you hold an angle for 30 seconds and the second you hit your nose, the tease will swing out and kill you, which in that case is unlucky, but something you may not be aware of is that in some scenarios, this concept of timings can be manipulated and influenced by your own decisions and awareness of the game that's happening around you. By understanding common patterns, predicting enemy movement, and controlling your own positioning and pace, you can increase your chances of catching opponents off guard or avoid getting caught yourself. Your ability to do this will be dictated by your overall level of game sense. Now, I made an entire video covering this topic, and if you want to find out more about it, I strongly suggest you check it out. Link to that will be in the description. But if you're more interested in the TLDR about game sense, it's this. The more games you play, the higher game sense you'll have. But, and this is really important, without deliberate intention to get better and accepting accountability for your own performance and mistakes, you won't get any better. While I was making this video, I saw a really good analogy about this on Reddit. It was a post that was essentially exposing someone who constantly blamed cheaters or literally anything else other than themselves when it came to their own in-game performance. I don't want to get into the details about the situation, but this player had over 4,000 hours played and is stuck in the lowest ranks of Premier in competitive matchmaking. Anyway, after some analysis of their play, the Reddit user C. Spalding said, "Being in a pool for 20 years does not make you an Olympic swimmer. You need to train correctly to achieve that," which honestly I couldn't agree with more. Okay, I know that wasn't really a TLDR, but what I'm trying to say is game sense and understanding timing specifically is something you can improve on, and Donk is a great example of that. Speaking of which, take this as an example. At the start of the round, Donk decides to go upper B. His teammate communicates that there are CTs pushing short. Donk realizes he's at a player disadvantage, so he tries to isolate a fight with a solo B player. He knows the B player has to reload his A1S after spamming, so he gets into audio range so he can hear that reload sound. Once he hears the reload, he immediately runs onto site and picks the fight with the anchor. I realize that this play may appear to be nothing special or even seem somewhat troll to just run out onto B, but it's also important to consider what his other options were. He could go back through T-spawn to help with his team, which would take about 20 seconds, and after that the round could have already been lost. Or he could push lower mid, which he would have had to clear 180 degrees worth of angles because his team lost that space. Or he could have started early mid with his team, but the problem with the last one is he just wouldn't have any utility to take mid, so it would have been very difficult. Instead, Donk opted for what I believe to be the best option, and that is to find the best timing possible to kill the B anchor that doesn't know he's there, which he did. I believe Donk opted for this decision because he understands the easiest opponent to peek is the one that least expects you to be there. While I was making this video, I watched about 10 different Faceit demos on Donk, and something I realized Donk almost never does is walk peek into angles. But even that's nothing really special when it comes to just Donk specifically. Every high elo player, when they're clearing angles that they have reason to believe an enemy will be in, will never walk peek. The reason why this is true is because every time you walk peek into an angle an enemy's holding, you're practically giving away a free kill. If you don't believe me, take a look at the difference between these two peeks. The first one here is someone walking into the angle, and the second one is someone peeking an angle without walking. Think about which one is easier to counter. To remain quiet 100% of the time while you're doing this will require a lot of practice. And being completely honest, there are still times when I'm peeking like this and I accidentally make a step, and sometimes that can cost my team the round. Practicing this skill will skyrocket your success when peeking. One of Donk's biggest skills is his crosshair placement. This has been commented on by several people, and honestly, after watching his demos, I'm blown away with how accurately he's always placing his crosshair. I know crosshair placement is a subject that has been absolutely beaten to death by the CS content creation community when it comes to importance, and I'm not to be excluded from that, but seriously, his crosshair placement is almost perfect. But I'm not the only one to notice it. Pros in CS have also commented on it too.
I've actually, I've worked with like aim coaches and stuff, and I'm like, yo, can you like analyze him versus me? Like, what's the difference that you'd say? And like the main difference between like him and me is not even just like his aim is much better, because like our aim is actually pretty similar. It's more that he's making things way easier than me. Like his crosshair placement is just perfect, is what it is.
I won't go into detail on how you can improve your crosshair placement because there's already thousands of videos, including one of my own, on how you can improve this skill. But I will say that if you're interested in improving your ability to peek angles and you really want to emulate Donk's performance and playstyle, then I highly encourage you to really focus on your crosshair placement. If you're still watching the video, I want to personally thank you for making it this far. And if you've enjoyed what you've seen, consider leaving a like. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, then be sure to subscribe. And as a special thank you for making it this far, I'm going to mention a few other things I discovered that Donk does in his games that don't necessarily have a lot to do with how he peeks. The first thing I want to mention is how he holds angles. Outside of knowing countless off angles, whenever Donk is holding an angle, he's constantly moving. I'm not kidding, like constantly moving. He'll even do this when he's opping. I'm not entirely sure why he's doing this. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that it makes him a harder target to hit when someone does peek, and perhaps this helps keep him mentally engaged. But I've been implementing this in my own game, and it's helped tremendously on CT side and holding site post plant on T side. Donk's also very comfortable with tap firing, and from the demos I watched, I was actually surprised with how often he does this. A lot of players, myself included, will spray enemies regardless of the angle we spot them on. Donk does a really good job of recognizing when burst firing will likely not result in him getting the kill and then proceed to simply tap fire. And one more thing I noticed from watching his demos is that he's a team player. Of course his impact is felt on the server due to the high amount of kills he's able to get each game, but whenever he's in the opportunity to assist his teammate, he does so, whether that be utility or trading them. The amount of utility he knows too appears to be almost endless. I could go on and on about the different things I've noticed, but that's not what this video is about. And Wilson CS already made a great video on it as well. So if you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. Before I close out the video, I want to quickly shout out all the Ride or Die YouTube members. You guys are the biggest supporters of the channel, and for every member that joins, you get me one step closer to making YouTube my full-time job. So really, thank you. Also, if you want to join the Ride or Die membership, consider clicking the join button below. Also, one more thing, there's a Ride or Die Discord. If you want to find a place where you can find like-minded players to queue with, join giveaways, or find somewhere to hang out and chat, be sure to join. Link to that will be in the description. Anyways, that's all I got. Be sure to give the video a like, and if you want to stay up to date with my content, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified. Thanks for watching.